Welcome to the Boardroom Brain podcast, everyone. I cannot wait for you to hear today's guest. She also happens to live nearby me in Los Angeles. So this is an extra special episode. Here, let me introduce you to Paige Heaphy. She's the Chief Integration Officer at Gyant, a company that automates the patient journey through AI. Paige leads all customer-facing post-sales activity for Gyant, including deployment, support, and customer success. Her goal is to structure each customer relationship for efficiency, growth, and meaningful impact for the customer and their patients. She applies a unique approach to leadership and customer relationships that emanates from training from Danny Meyer's USHG and her Lean Six Sigma Black Belt certification. Prior to Gyant, Paige has nearly 20 years of experience in strategic planning, business development, and performance improvement in health systems. Oh my gosh, Paige, what a bio. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Lauren. It's a pleasure to be here. And wow, that 20 years, that actually makes me feel really old now. But it's been a wonderful journey and just so many great experiences along the way. So I'm happy to, have that conversation with you and your listeners today.
I love it. Well, we are so lucky to have you. And, lately I like to kick off the podcast. I'm a big reader. For people watching on YouTube, they'll see all the books behind me, and we have a health book club. So I always like to ask our guests, what are you reading lately? What's something that's inspiring you, that's making you think? Give us a rec.
Yeah. I mean, I love reading myself too. And I listen to podcasts, of course. I do, Audible for books, but I also love the traditional like paper, that feeling of that paper in my hand. So let's see, I've been reading a lot lately about many different topics. I like to always keep my mind open and going in different directions, right? Because there's so much about business and life and, kind of personal development that I'm always curious and trying to learn more about and understand. So there's one book I'm reading right now called Humble Inquiry, which is really about, right, as a leader, how do you have humility in conversation so that you can really be a much more effective listener and then ultimately leader for your organization. So I'm reading that. Then a friend also recently gave me a Stephen King book of short stories. So I'm kind of doing some fun stuff like that. And then I just recently reread and completed the book How to Be Anti-Racist. Again, right, it's just ongoing current topic. I want to make sure that I am, effective with, again, my peers, my kids, my coworkers, my employees, in having meaningful and effective dialogue and conversations, even around that topic, around diversity and inclusion.
I'm so glad you speak to that. That's such an important book. You've got a great list there already. Yeah. Getting some Goodreads friend requests, I think.
Yes.
I love it. Yeah, I'm reading a book right now by Susan Cain. She did that book, Quiet, about the power of extroverts. And the latest book is called Bittersweet. And it's about, holding the both and of life, the joy and the pain together. And it's been really good. I'm enjoying it. So,
I imagine, especially given the last 2 years and what many of us have gone through, that is a very contemporary topic and book.
It's been good. Yeah, it might be the next one for our Brain Health Book Club. We'll see.
I think so. I'm definitely gonna have to pick it up myself and read it.
Well, speaking of emotions, I always like to do a little LinkedIn stalking, if you will. And I love on your LinkedIn profile, you have a tagline: happy teams, happy leader, happy life. So definitely happiness seems to be a theme for you. I'm curious how this plays out for you and that tagline.
Yeah.
I love that choice.
Yeah, thank you for that. I definitely feel it's very important, right, to be a very positive person. Positive vibes, to find, the positive things in life, happiness, joy. So I'm very much that type of person with that orientation, right? I'm the glasses half full person, and so I always, in order to keep myself really energized and in a positive mindset, I look to seek out, the positive things in life, the happiness of the little moments, even when there are hiccups and things aren't going well, like from day to day in work, work projects and stuff. I always try to, still keep the energy around everything in a very positive spin and a very positive dimension, because if there's too much negativity and kind of too much thinking about everything that is not right in life or not going right, on a project of work, then the energy, drops and morale drops and stuff. And so it's really important that I stay in a positive and a healthy state of mind, that I support my teams and each and every one of my employees in doing that, because ultimately that that reaps rewards like tenfold around how we engage with clients and ultimately client success.
That all makes sense to me. I mean, it sounds like holding that positive mindset. And to be clear for people listening, it's not that we deny when things are challenging or we push it.
No, not at all.
But I wonder, if you see that impacting your team where it does have this contagious effect where morale is improved. It sounds like it.
Yeah, absolutely. In no way am I implying that you ignore when there are not good things happening, right? Company wise, individual wise, right? In fact, part of being able to find the happiness and the positivity in moments is because you have those relationships in which you can be authentic with your team members around when things aren't going right, or when personally you've had a really bad day or something has happened in your life, right? And to be able to have those trusting relationships with your team members allows then for those sharing in the authentic moments and being able to empathize and support people to get through, right? To get through those hard times. And that's where the happiness ultimately then comes from, because you're happy that you have good, meaningful relationships, in your personal life and in your work life. You are happy that you had support from people, right, to get you through the tough times. You are happy that you actually then maybe overcame a hurdle or a difficult period in time, right? And so that's where the happiness emanates from, right?
I love
we
that.
all have difficult periods in our life for one reason or other, and there's still the ability to get through them, right? And still find happiness in those difficult times.
Totally. I mean, I always feel like, when life is feeling uncontrollable and things are just,
yes,
your perspective is your power. No one can take that away from you, how you choose to look at something. And I love that mindset. It sounds like for you that there is that positive framed mindset that has such an effect for others. And I'm curious about this because some people listening, they may still be thinking, wait, does she have a black belt? Like thinking, so you have to tell us a little bit more about USHG, Lean the black belt. Tell people about that and how that has impacted you in your current role. I want to talk about that.
Sure. I will talk about those plus some other things that didn't necessarily make it onto my bio, but I think have also influenced my life and my career. So Danny Meyer, many people may know about him. He's a very successful restaurateur in New York City. He has his company is called Union Square Hospitality Group, UHSG for short. I was very fortunate to have trained with his team when they had a consulting firm up and running. And this was pre-pandemic. And they were very helpful in working with me and others at the time around how do you bring kind of hospitality into the workplace, right? And so we think of hospitality around, just restaurants, bars, places like hotels, things like that. But when you're working in healthcare, there is an element of, care delivery and, interacting with patients, their family members, stuff that actually have has an elements of hospitality as
Yes.
a part of it, but we don't think of it really that way, right? We think of those industries as very separate, but there are very common themes in both of them. So we did work with them around how do you take some of their core concepts around service delivery, like the technical elements of service, but then that empathic, how does it make you feel element around service? How do you bring those two together and apply it in healthcare? How do you hire then people, the right people to deliver that type of experience? So we did a lot of training and development around hiring for the right people. And then I think probably the most impactful was their general framework, that they have a framework that they refer to as the virtuous cycle of enlightened hospitality. But really what it is at the core of it, you put your employees first. And so if you invest and you put your employees first, then again, similar to what I have seen in my own personal life is, they then drive and deliver exceptional results and an exceptional experience for the customer, in our world, the patient, our clients. And then that yields then the financial success of the company, and then how you engage with your relationship with vendors and suppliers and with the community as a whole. So that framework was learning that framework and applying it was a very meaningful and kind of a sea change about who I was as a leader at a point in my career. And then the Lean Six Sigma Black Belt, that is work around, process improvement, and how do you, really make processes more efficient, more reliable, safer. But through that, Lean actually comes out of Toyota, whereas Six Sigma comes out of American industry. And in Toyota too has a very strong culture about putting the employees first and really working to learn what the daily processes and daily life of the employee is like, and then engaging them in the meaningful conversations around, okay, well then how do you really eliminate waste and really make your processes more efficient for you, the employee, right? And so again, it's a very similar theme around you put the employees first. You really, right? You as a leader, you really learn how to become a good listener, really empathic. And when you do that, again, it just gives you a completely different relationship and dynamic with your teams, whether you are the leader or you're interacting with leaders above you. And it just yields, just really, for me, really positive, life-changing results.
I am loving everything that you're saying right now. It's so interesting to merge the worlds, of
Yes.
care
Yep.
and hospitality as you're describing it. It makes so much sense.
Oh, yeah.
And, honestly, I feel like we need to apply this to every industry because
it's true, right? I mean, Toyota creates cars, Danny Meyer creates amazing restaurant experiences, right? I've been in healthcare, right? I mean, all very different industries, but yet the themes are the same in all of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I'm right there with you, especially from a mental health standpoint.
Oh, yes.
Putting the employees first, yes, we want to serve our clients, but how can we serve our clients if our employees are not doing well themselves?
Absolutely.
So tell us a little bit more like how that plays out. What does that actually look like? I'm curious to hear more on that.
Yeah, sure. We, so first and foremost, I think going back to my tagline about happy teams, happy leader, happy life, I put the teams first because as a leader, my first priority really are my teams and making sure that they are, just, running at, kind of at their highest kind of performance. But when I say performance, I say, emotionally as well as kind of business performance. Mm-hmm. But in my, happy leader is second, but it's important that for me to be in a good headspace and good mind space if I'm going to drive it in my team too. And so I have really done a lot of work myself. It's been a personal journey myself to develop kind of routines and practices that keep me in a good headspace, emotionally, psychologically as well, in order that I'm always kind of working at my maximum performance. So I've done a lot of work around developing a mindfulness practice. I do yoga a couple of days a week. I can no longer run because I don't have good knees anymore, but I walk, like quick walk, 3 to 5 miles a day.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, because part of that is part of my end of day routine that helps me, right, calm down and, kind of make that transition from work down into my personal life. Right. It allows me to like get through all of my thoughts of the day and, clear my head. Sometimes I'll listen to music. Sometimes I will listen to a podcast. Sometimes I will just, walk it with nothing in silence because I need it. So I really worked over time to develop some of those habits in my daily routine in order that I can then, one, be a role model and not just, tell them or do what I say, not what I do, or just like, right, tell them what to do or encourage them to do these things, but not role model it myself, right? So I've done a lot of work to develop those habits myself, and then to support and facilitate conversations with my team members around that. And then as a company, we have a very strong orientation to supporting our employees and having a strong company culture around personal and professional development. And so in that, we offer a number of different benefits that our employees can take advantage of. So we do offer subsidized and free counseling through Headspace and BetterHelp. We offer benefits around ClassPass, using ClassPass for like physical activity and exercise, right? So we offer a ClassPass. We have a weekly lunch kind of subsidy that we offer, like to make sure that, right, you also get kind of that nutritional incorporation. We have allocation for personal and professional development around courses and learnings. We have a very good time off policy, and part of it is us as leaders really working with our staff to make sure that they take the time off, because in America we are very good with saying that we offer paid time off, but then none of the employees actually take it. And so we do a lot of work with, again, ourselves as leaders, modeling it and saying it's okay for us to take time off, and we take time off, and then working with our employees to say, okay, you need to take time off. You have 4 weeks every year. Like, when are you going to take it? Like, you have to take it because it's very important that you get that downtime so that you come back like refreshed. So there's a number of different ways I could go on. There's a number of other different ways we do that a lot of companies have also done over the pandemic, like trivia nights and cooking classes and things like that. But it's a really, I feel really very fortunate to work in a company with such a great culture, and to then be a leader to help support and facilitate it.
It sounds extensive. It sounds like you're doing a lot. I mean, shoot, I want a ClassPass discount. That's
I know, right?
That's great. So many good things. And we are also talking about the client today as well. I'm curious, how are you seeing this translate to client results, client interactions?
Yes.
And maybe tell folks a little bit more, about what Gyant does in terms of supporting clients in a digital way.
Yes. So we have a digital platform that uses AI to engage patients along the patient journey. So we sell to health systems, and then they extend out our product to patients and consumers. Mm-hmm. And so the offerings allow patients to do online activities such as go through an AI-driven symptom checking process, help with care navigation, finding a doctor, helping to pay a bill, scheduling an appointment, things like that. And then we also offer products that then allow people to conduct outreach to patients, like so post discharge or post having a baby. We have outreach to the individuals to say, hey, we want to check in on you. How are you doing? Are you having any issues such as a fever or nausea or vomiting? And how's your pain? Things like that. So we have products that can do essentially automated AI-driven outreach and care navigation for patients along the entire patient journey. So for us, it is the co-founders, founded this company, right, with that whole intention of really wanting to improve access to care and to reduce the cost of care, right? If, we in the healthcare industry, we can do these things just by us asking, our friend, the doctor or the nurse who we're working with, and say, hey, my child is spiking a fever and has this and this other symptom. What do you think it is, right? And so they wanted to be able to give that access to anyone, not just because you are a personal friend of a clinician or you work with them. They wanted it to be available to everyone. So in that drive to increase access to care, help refer people to the appropriate place for care and not have people end up unnecessarily in the ED. And that was their mechanisms to help, hit on some of those key pain points that we all experience in the healthcare industry right now. Now with the pandemic and the increase around the increase around provider burnout, our products are also playing a role around in that arena too, and helping to address that issue, because they can automate and take care of the administrative burden and some of those things that clinicians don't really want to do. They shouldn't have to do, quite honestly, right? It's become so bureaucratic. Our healthcare industry has become so bureaucratic with, forms and papers and authorizations and things like that, there's a lot of that can be automated and doesn't have to be done by an individual. And so our products also help with that, with taking out of all the unnecessary work, collecting that in an automated way, delivering it to the provider, and then allowing the provider to have a more meaningful interaction and conversation with the patient. So, fortunately and unfortunately, the pandemic, right, has really heightened this issue. The fortunate thing is that we're able to help with it. So with that, one, our interactions with our clients, they are coming to us saying, please help us. We have these major issues going on with our, our health system, our providers. Now, like, there's shortages in the workforce. We really need help hiring people. And so our team, one, right, because we just come to the table with a huge amount of empathy and just being really good listeners, really can sit there and engage with the clients around these topics, really have, just let them tell us about what is, their pain points, what are the issues that they're trying to solve, and then allow us to come back with proposals on the design and how it will work for them. And so I think we have a niche around that, in that we don't sit there and say, well, here's our product, take it as it is, You can't really configure it to meet your needs. It will only solve part of your problems, not all of your problems. We really come to the table with the ability to do customized work and to really make it the most meaningful product that the client needs.
Mm-hmm. I love that customization, and you're really solving two problems on both sides, for client, because really, I mean, it does come from such a place of privilege, right? Of like, oh, I'll just talk to my doctor friend.
Sure.
A lot of people don't have a doctor friend.
Your friend.
So
exactly.
making it so much more accessible to folks, and also helping resolve the burnout issue of all of our patients, So wow, that's cool. Really.
Yeah. It's been, a fantastic journey. I mean, I started actually working in hospitals and health systems. I have had that experience of, being the individual who our client is. So, I've had the experience of actually walking in their footsteps. And, then, moved into actually being on the product side and wanting to help have an impact developing and designing the products, for our clients. And so part of the training and education that we do with our team is around, let us help you walk a day in the footsteps, of one of our clients. Let's, talk about what they're experiencing, what they're trying to juggle, and like really help you get an understanding of what their life is like, how difficult how difficult some of their days can be, what the challenges are, how they're trying to juggle multiple priorities. And, let's really work on how we can, just understand and empathize with them, just empathize, right? And then sit there and, from that design, a really great solution for them.
Yes, there's that empathy piece coming up. And I also see you helping tackle mental health issues as well, because so many clients consult Dr. Google and diagnose themselves with all kinds of things. And the fact that, okay, yes, it's AI, but talking where you're getting real-time information and feedback. And that way you're not having folks come in, in person to see a doctor and say, I have XYZ. And it's like, no, let's hold on for a second, So many problems you're resolving. And you mentioned you've seen all aspects of it throughout your career. Paige, you've had over 20 years of experience cited in the bio. I always love to hear from our guests, what would you say the secret of your success, maybe not so secret now, but what do you feel like has been integral in your own career journey?
I think what has been integral is one, pursuing a passion. So, healthcare, or not even healthcare specifically, I guess I would say wanting to help other people, wanting to make other people's lives better has been a passion of mine, one way or the other. And healthcare, is a very natural kind of area that helps one achieve that. So pursuing my passion at many different companies over the course of my career has been very key to my success, right? And so that the constant ability to pursue a passion, keeping my curiosity levels high, right? And there are times, right, as individuals, over the course of our career, we will have low spots, for one reason or other, but being able to come out of it and still, have that curiosity to want to pursue a passion and have that energy again, stay positive, for me to stay positive around it all. And then, kind of what we talked about also about kind of having a practice, like some sort of, mental health, related practice. For me, that has been in the form of mindfulness and yoga and, exercise. It can have many different shapes and forms and versions for the individual, but having some sort of practice to keep you mentally and emotionally healthy, I think has those kind of key three things have really kept me kind of going and successful in life, whether, and I've changed, I've changed companies, I've changed roles, I've been in a traditional health system, I'm now in the startup world. Many, many years ago, I did basic science research, right? And so, it doesn't matter kind of what your journey looks like or what, path you take. But for me personally, as long as I kept those three things kind of, as a focal point for me and important, kind of as my keys to success, that's what has driven me to where I am today.
Oh, wow. I think people are going to play that back, that part, especially. We talk a lot on this show about values, and it sounds like you have kept your values to the forefront throughout your career. And yes, the job, the context has changed.
Right.
It sounds like being so centered in those values have been so grounding as you've gone on.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. And when those values start becoming absent, in my work setting for one reason or other, right? Dynamics can change, leaderships can change, your role can change, right? And anything that, starts to kind of change start changing into a way where those values are no longer centered and they haven't been centered for me. That's been kind of my aha moment to sit there and say, okay, this role, this job, this position may no longer be the right fit. So then what's next? Because you have to get that back. Otherwise, you're not going to be a good leader. You're not going to be a good team member. You're not going to be a good spouse. You're not going to be a good mom, right? You're not going to be a good friend. So you're right. For me, those have been my kind of core values that internally drive me. I'm certain your listeners have, for each individual, they have their own different set of core values, but I would say, yes, a key driving force in success is to stay focused on those.
I love that. That. Yeah, I think that really is integral. And you mentioned being a mom. We were talking about that a little bit before we hit record. And some of the guests that we've had on the show, their kids are, 0 to 5, maybe elementary school. We were just talking, their kids are, high school and getting ready
in college. Yes.
So I'm curious if you're open to sharing, looking back, you've had this career and your kids have been growing up at the same time. How have you managed it all? Because I think sometimes our listeners, they wonder, like, how can I do it all, have a family and have a great career at the same time?
Yeah, I do not claim to have the secret sauce on that one, but I will say, I have been very fortunate to raise two young women who are now 18 and 21. So it's very interesting raising two young women during this time, right? It's a very it's a time, and especially recently, that has been a real roller coaster with regards to women and women's rights and advancement in our society. And so for me, I think the best thing I have done for them is to actually show that, yes, I have loved my work every step of the way. I have loved my work, and there have been difficult times in balancing work versus, home life. There were years where I was not the perfect mom. I didn't make it to all the activities and things, right? I would say to your listeners, you have to give yourself permission to be imperfect around all of that. But what I've also been able to do is then sit there and say, okay, that has not worked for me. Like, at certain periods of my time, right, hasn't worked for me for one reason or other, right? I was losing my passion. My work was pulling on me too much, that then I felt really bad about the role and how I was as a mother. And again, those were kind of signals to me about, okay, you need to reevaluate. Maybe this job or this role isn't the right one anymore, and how do you kind of make that transition, or how do you make that change? And get to where you feel you need to be in order to have, a good, again, a good kind of emotional and psychological health for yourself, but then that way you also show it to your kids.
Yeah.
So,
I think that ties perfectly into our last question that I ask all of our guests. Here you are with your two daughters and they're getting ready for their next big steps in the world.
Yeah.
Paige, what do you hope your legacy will be?
I think I will always want my legacy to be that in some way, shape, or form, I helped you. I helped people. I helped my kids. I helped my spouse. And what that help looks like, I don't know, but I hope that it's a positive. I help them in a positive way. And that, people will sit there and say, she was a really good friend, teacher, mentor, team leader, and, and really helped me be successful. Like not me personally, but I helped the other person be successful. That's what I want my legacy to be.
Well, I think you did that here today with
thank you
just to come on the show, and I learned so much. And one thing I'm taking away from this conversation too is you've been willing to make changes as you need to, I think a lot of times we can get stuck and get a little comfortable, and by you knowing those values, you were willing to make changes when you needed to. And that is a powerful message too.
Yeah, absolutely. And that change can be really scary, right? Because when you're in a comfortable situation, like, you kind of know what you're dealing with, and moving into another situation is very scary. But my personal experience it has always been worth it. Like it has always been worth it. And it may not be perfect, but it has always been worth it. And, and that has led me then yet again to just another opportunity that also was a great opportunity, and another opportunity that was also a great opportunity. So don't fear the unknown. Do not fear the unknown.
Oh, what a beautiful episode today. I hope your daughters
thank you.
Listen to it too. Mom. Wow. I loved getting to learn from you today. And now that we're nearby each other, maybe we'll get to carry on the conversation in person.
Yeah, absolutely.
Paige, tell folks where they can get in touch with you if they want to learn more about you or Gyant and the great work that's happening there.
Well, you're more than welcome to look me up on LinkedIn. Again, my name's Paige Heaphy. You can always reach out to me on LinkedIn. My company's name is Gyant, Gyant. So you can look us up at gyant.com. And it was a pleasure having the opportunity to talk with you about these really, really important topics, Lauren. I mean, mental health, emotional well-being, all of those are so important right now. So important right now. So it was a pleasure being here.
I appreciate you as a leader for stepping into the conversation, and we are so grateful for your time and your insights today. Paige, thank you so much.
Likewise. Thank you. Bye.